things were going on that I didn't approve of, and I knew that, you know, the standards in the industry were not as ethical as I thought they should be. But I didn't realize that there were these cover-ups taking place. Just like you said, the clinical data. When I got into the clinical data on these drugs, this information has been out there since Jump Street, since they started the clinical trials.
They knew day one that it screwed people up and made them worse. Then they get them on more drugs. I mean, this is the classic street pusher coming up to the fence going, "Psst, kid, come here, I got some pills I want to give you. Tell us," I know it's hard to talk about, tell us what happened to your niece.
Long story short, we spent a period of time. My niece moved in with me because my sister had her arrested because she was violent. That's part of the profile, that people get violent, agitated. And the courts released her to me, so I was trying to help her go through a healing process. And this is difficult for me still. I'm sorry. Anyway, my sister decided that she didn't believe that this had really happened to my niece, that I was influencing her by my personal experience, and that she really did have a mental problem, that she needed a brain defect, that she needed drugs. She had, even though I gave her all of the books, I gave her CDs, I gave her the information to show her that this was real.
And by the way, you never had problems, she never had problems. It's 100%. I mean, in your case, her case, you go on this happens.
Well, I'm not going to say I'd never had problems.
I mean, we all have problems.
Yeah, I mean, we all have problems, but no, we didn't have psychological problems to the degree that either of us were ever suicidal, or that, you know, but there was a little depression going on because of familial things and dysfunction in the family, that sort of thing, but it wasn't something that would have caused this. Anyway, what my sister did was she told my niece, she called her and told her that she was going to have to go back on the drugs, or she was going to have to return to Indiana. And my niece was desperate. She tried to call me and tell me that her mother was coming to get her, and the phone had been disconnected when I tried to call her back because my sister's phone had been disconnected. And I didn't get in touch with her, and my sister was on her way home to forcibly take her to the psychiatrist and put her back on drugs. And my niece first tried to hang herself.
I'll tell you what, we got a break. We'll come right back and finish up this horror story. But, you know, Gwen, as you know, I know why you're doing this. You're going to save lives today telling this story, because it's happened to so many Austinites that I know personally, especially little girls. They target little girls with this stuff, young women, and it's all part of the whole Madison Avenue culture. They get depressed here, take some drugs because you don't look like the supermodel, or it's hard to look like the supermodel, and then they end up killing themselves. And then we'll talk about this new film. Stay with us. We haven't even gotten into this new film yet, Prescription Suicide, and we have the Emmy award-winning director right here with us. We're so honored to have him. And we're talking to a author. I know it's tough to talk about, but Gwen, please continue with what happened with your niece. She gets this phone call. She's going to be taken forcibly and be put back on the drugs. Tell us what happened.
And we have already done all the research, so she is fully aware of the fact that, and she's very intelligent. As I said, she was an honor student. She was pre-med. So she knew that she was having the adverse reactions as well. And she decided, as she had told me a couple of days before that, she said, "Aunt Gwen, I'd rather be dead than be crazy. And those drugs made me crazy." And I told her that I understood. I completely understood and believed what she was going through. Well, when my sister was on her way home, Megan first tried to hang herself with her shoestrings from the ceiling lamp in the living room. And the weight of her body made the ceiling lamp fall, so she wasn't, the fan made it fall, so she wasn't successful. So she was so desperate that she then went into one of my younger niece's bedrooms and took an angel-shaped lantern, an oil lantern, and poured the oil over her head and set herself on fire.
Oh.
And at some point, she must have changed her mind, or she must have been in pain or something, because the two younger girls had taken a bath that morning and the bath water was still in. And apparently, according to the EMS report, she had gone in and she tried to extinguish the fire in that bathtub, and she was unsuccessful, not knowing the oil would be spread. And by the time that they actually came to get her, she was uncommunicative. They said she opened the door and then she fell backwards, and that was the last of it. It took about 35 minutes for them to get her to the Brackenridge Burn Center, and and she died when they got there. She had second to third degree burns over 95% of her body.
I mean, it takes incredible will. Most men can't do those type of things to themselves. And just for anyone out there listening, don't ever try to put yourself out with water. You roll. You get a blanket. That's how you put a fire out. But unbelievable. That's like almost like those Buddhist monks in Vietnam that would douse themselves and sit there meditating as they burn to death. I mean, the place, the mind, and you read about cops pull up, and I hear about these stories all the time. I'm a news hound, and you hear about it every week. A woman dancing naked, stabbing herself with butcher knives on top of a building. Woman running around foaming at the mouth, and it's always some lawyer, some doctor, no one who had ever any history of mental illness. And they're put on these drugs, or they quickly go off of them. That can cause it too. And they're just, it's total psycho world. Then you go read the inserts, and it says that it does exactly that. I want to get some comments of, I would say, your colleague. And Robert, you produced this film. Tell us about the film. And in the film, there are two other Austin families that have had similar nightmare tragedies as well. Tell us about that.
There are two Austin families. One, the McIntosh, who lost their daughter. She was 12 years old, and she hung herself by her shoelaces at school. And the other family is the Brooks, who daughter Tanya was put on Paxil and tried to cut her leg off. And the mother took her right off the drugs, and she's doing great right now. She's completely off those drugs. But she was put on them for anxiety. Tanya was put on the drugs because she had a problem going to places where there are people, being around people. Now, who doesn't have that problem?
Well, I mean, everybody has those agoraphobic feelings when they're 12.
Right.
Exactly. You know, if the restaurant's too crowded, if I'm going by myself and it's too crowded, I just turn around and go away myself sometimes. And she had that, so they put her on Paxil. No depression. And Caitlin was 12 years old, and similar story. Caitlin passed away, and Tanya survived. And the families in this, we have 6 families. 3 of them are alive. They're all kids, and 3 have committed suicide. Candace, which is from Washington area, was 12 years old. She was put on it for anxiety. I spent a week in their home. No signs of depression whatsoever. Beautiful, beautiful girl. She hung herself in her bedroom, and she was on Zoloft. We had Ray Jr. from Memphis, Tennessee, who wasn't depressed. He was just trying to get high. And one of his friends got his mom's drugs, and they were getting high off it. He was on that for about a week. He called his dad up. His daddy raced home. He pulled a shotgun, I forgot what size gun, but shot himself in the head while his father raced home for lunch. We have Devin, who was 9 years old. She's from the East Coast. She tried to jump out the window. She was on Paxil. They thought she had anorexia. The parents kept telling the doctors, hey, have you looked into these infectious diseases such as Lyme or Pandas? And the doctors kept saying no. They kept upping the medication. She tried to jump out the window, 9 years old. The parents finally went to a doctor in New Haven, Dr. Jones, and Devin was diagnosed with Lyme disease. And it's a common thing that happens.
Well, I had a family member who was bitten by a tick and got it, and they lost like 30 pounds and turned white. I mean, white as a sheet. And I guess